Hey guys, Darryl Russell here. I'm here in Chiang Mai, Thailand for the Chiang Mai SEO conference, and I decided to kidnap some of the speakers and some of the attendees, drag them back to my apartment here and interview them just for you guys to get some exclusive content. So let's get straight into it. Enjoy. Hey guys, Darryl Russell here. Welcome back to another episode of The Lion Zeal Show. I'm here with Kevin Graham, and we're talking about Amazon affiliate and how you can build up a business doing that, and ultimately how you can go out there and flip your sites. Kevin, over the last 3 years, has flipped 3 different sites for each a 6-figure deal, and breaking down how exactly he did that, the sales process of actually flipping the site, and really how you can go out there and do the exact same thing. So let's just dive straight into it. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey man, thank you for joining me today. It's awesome to have you here.
No
again,
worries.
actually.
It's great to be back on the Lion Zeal Show.
I appreciate it, man. So for anyone that doesn't know you, maybe they missed the previous episode, can you introduce yourself, like what it is you do?
Yeah, certainly. So my name's Kevin Graham. I run a PBN hosting, or 2 PBN hosting companies now, and I also run a huge affiliate site empire, which has almost 60 sites in it at the moment.
I did not know you had that many sites, and I did not even know you had 2 hosting companies. Okay, start with the 2 hosting companies. What?
Yeah, so in October this year, I released a second PBN hosting company. The new one, Launch CDN, basically uses CDNs in front of the actual website, so that your IP address for the site looks like it's coming from whichever CDN provider you get that through. So that could be Amazon CloudFront, Cloudflare, Verizon Edgecast, and a handful of others as well.
Gotcha.
And removes that like reverse IP footprint that you previously had with a lot of PBN hostings.
And then you can stick them all on one host and make it significantly easier.
Yeah, and we do the back-end server hosting as well. So, you know, complete end-to-end CDNs plus the hostings all.
Cool. Why did you create that when you already had bulk buy?
So, the issue that you face with bulk buy is we can only scale to as many servers that we can get from the reseller providers. Yeah. With the CDNs, we can then scale out to like infinite numbers of sites in people's accounts, because you're not worried about the IP footprint because it's all through that CDN. So like I started doing it with my own, a portion of my own PBN back in about a year ago. Tested it for a year.
There's no footprints or anything.
Yeah.
That's the next big question,
Yeah, tested it for a year. I've had 0 de-indexes across that period, and so I was finally comfortable to be like, okay, we can now release this to the public and start having some other people do that as well.
Cool, man. So to your affiliate fan, 60 sites?
60 sites. I think
you're like working like a madman. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so 60 sites. That's basically 3 networks of 20 sites per network. And it's something that I've been building since 2014. So roughly, I'm building 2 sites a month. So this year we've built 20 new sites now. We've got another 2 in the pipeline that I'm going to build this month, another 2 next month, so on and so forth. But back in May and June, half of that 20 was done in May and June. So it was 5 new sites in May, 5 new sites in June, to try and like catch up for some of the sites that I hadn't been building earlier in the year.
What is the model here? Like, what are you trying to do building so many sites?
So basically we run this sort of double business strategy. It's half where we're building these sites to test it, build the portfolio of sites, generate the income and revenue off that. And then it's kind of like an incubator for these sites. And once they hit at least, 2 years and generally making like 5 to 10K per month, at that point we then take, a site at that size and then sell it on Empire Flippers. So for us now, we've done 3 site sales over the last 3 years, like 1 per year. And each one of those has been like a 6-figure exit. That's
awesome, man. Congrats. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. It's kind of, fun when you see those like transfers go through and you're like, wow, that's a nice little like addition to the bank balance.
So the concept behind it is always to build them up, get them to a certain income and flip them. It's never to keep them and keep that ongoing income.
Correct. So we sort of work on, I guess, like a minimum viable product for that site. So we'll like build it, we'll get it ranking. We generally won't have the social media implemented. We won't have a email list done. And we'll be targeting sort of the short to mid, what is it, long tail to like medium long tail keywords. So stuff that sits somewhere between like 5,000 to 6,000 monthly searches down to maybe 600 monthly searches.
Okay.
But then there's a ton more room again to further expand that site out, whether that's, as I said, like email lists, doing social media properly, all those things that are things left on the table that the new buyer can take the site and expand.
Okay, so you never do any of that stuff?
No.
Okay, you're just in basically the traffic game. You generate the traffic through organic and then promote an affiliate program, and then they can take all that stuff later.
Correct. And so, there's definitely money like left on the table if somebody wants to buy one of those sites and then, spend the time adding them, or, doing some more CRO work, which is something that we don't do a ton of on those sites. We implement some best practices, but generally we won't bother like split testing a site. So there's a ton of quick wins that are left on the table for somebody else to do once they buy it. But that's the counter of operating, a portfolio of 50, 60 sites at any one time, is that you just don't have the time to invest in really optimizing any one site.
Can I ask why you take the approach then of flipping them versus building up that team and having in-house, or going to a big service provider and having them do the CRO, having them do the email list and stuff like that?
I mean, I really like those six-figure agents. Like,
Fair enough.
Like, so the first one was in 2015, and then you kind of get hooked to those, like, wow, like here's another big sale, here's another big sale. So that first one in 2015 at the time was the largest deal that Empire Flippers had done.
Really?
Which was back then.
Yeah.
And then they've gone on to do sites and deals that are like 10 times that now. So, it's still, great numbers to exit on though when,
That's very cool. Is it like paid up front, or is it, how does it work?
Yeah, so 2 of the deals we've done have been full cash up front.
Okay.
The one we did this year had about 70% upfront and a 30% trail, like 30% earnout. But yeah, like generally they've been mostly upfront, which, I know that once you start hitting those 6-figure deals, it becomes tougher and tougher to get like an all cash figure. So yeah.
Okay, I'm interested in breaking more down into like the model. So I know you build up the sites and you get into a certain income level. And we kind of, in the previous interview, we covered enough on the strategy, or how you're picking a niche, how you're going out there and setting up the sites. I'm curious how you know when it's time to sell the site, how you know it's time to like flip it.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're pretty much looking for, we need it to hit that like 5 to 10K per month to be like a big enough site that somebody's, able to come in and really, take it and transform it even further. Because if a site's only doing like a couple grand a month, it's less interesting to
like
a potential buyer.
Not going to do that much for them.
Yeah, I mean, you could take a site from 2 grand to maybe 2.5 or 3 grand, but compared to like 5 to 10 or 10 to 20, it's a lot less interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And so we've got that component of it, and the other half of it is that for a site to hit those sort of numbers, it's generally like needs to be at least 2 years, maybe 2.5 years old before it's really ready for that new buyer. And so then so much of it is just keeping them in the portfolio to age them out and get them to that nice, stable, steady plateau. I mean, as we said last time, like rankings are taking like 6 to 9 months to like really start to come in for sites. So, if with all those ones we built in May and June this year, it's not going to be till like 2019 until they're ready to
that's very true.
To sell.
And how about with PBNs? I can't remember what we said last time. Are you using PBNs on these new sites?
Yeah, so we're purely all PBN at the moment.
Kind of makes sense. You have a PBN hosting company. No, we don't use them.
Yeah, so we've added in obviously like social signals from PBN Butler, soon to be SEO Butler. We've added in
spoiler
press releases. We've added in citations, and like all those like diversity links that are nice to have. But for the actual main powerful links, they're all PBNs. Although we're just starting to look at some guest posting stuff now and trying to work out whether we potentially do like some other people have done and take a PBN site, switch it all
like
white hat, and whether that will actually influence people's buying behavior on sites.
What sort of multiples do you get for your sites?
So it's been, you know, an interesting progression through that time. So like the first site we sold was when Empire Flippers were at a fixed 20% multiple.
Okay.
We accepted an offer that was a little bit lower than that at the time. So if, you know, the current owner of that site was to turn around and sell that now, they'd probably get that to like closer to 30 times multiple.
Okay, 0 changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our most recent one this year, I think, was about a 30 times multiple as well.
Okay, and that's monthly, right?
Yeah, 30 times monthly profit. So for the expenses on our sites, we include a PBN rental expense because we maintain our
sense,
PBN
yeah.
and just do a link rental for those links to the new owner. And then obviously they have their hosting expenses as well that they need to factor in as an expense.
Okay, that's really interesting. I'm curious on like kind of the flipping process. We covered like how to build up the sites. I'm interested in like, okay, you've got the sites making, is there like a perfect time where you just kind of like 2 years minimum because you've got some age on it, and then ideally $5,000 plus a month revenue, is that right?
Yeah, so really we're looking for it to be stable.
Okay.
So ideally it's plateaued at around that, you know, either 5 or 10.
Okay, so it's not growing still.
We're not seeing, you know, month on month, like adding another 1 to 2 grand per month.
Gotcha.
We want it to be pretty stable and steady. Obviously you're always going to have that like Christmas peak, or if
Yeah.
it's a seasonal niche, you're going to have that like summer or winter peak. But otherwise we want to see, you know, a very stable sort of level
Gotcha,
of
okay.
earnings, so that we know that, you know, for us, we've sort of gotten as much as we can out of it, and it's then up to the, you know, new buyer, new owner to actually take that further.
Okay.
And then, yeah, really the rest of it's the age thing. So with like the way the Empire Flippers value stuff, and, you know, it sort of reflects what the buyers are willing to do. You know, they're not so interested in a site that's only, you know, 9, 12 or even 18 months old, because you don't really have a lot of true history to say, yeah, this site's been earning for...
It's risky, frankly, yeah.
It, you know, hasn't got that stability of like, yeah, it's been around for 2 years and, you know, it's showing some constant, you know, really good numbers, or at least, you know, a little bit of growth across that 12-month average that they're using. And so then, yeah, you're going to end up with a lower multiple, which is not good for anyone.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so the site's like ready, like it's plateaued, it's making $6,000 a month, whatever it's at.
Yep.
What's the next steps?
Right. So from there, we obviously hit up our brokers. So we've always used Empire Flippers in the past, but there's a ton of other brokerages out there as well.
They're cool guys though.
They're cool guys, yeah, definitely. I know Justin's been on the show before.
Yeah.
And they're pretty active in like the Lions Hill groups.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically we'll go and hit up Empire Flippers, we'll give them like all the information, so that's access to our Amazon account to actually pull all the revenue data, that's access to our analytics to be able to see all the traffic data as well.
Okay.
And then from there, they come back and say, all right, well, based on the age of the site and all of that, obviously we give them the domain to look at as well.
And they
based
give
on,
you value?
They give us a valuation based on that, which is, you know, generally the 12-month average of earnings with the multiple for the monthly profit based on age and how well they think the buyers will perceive it.
And that's somewhat accurate, I guess?
Yeah. So I mean, our most recent one sold at multiple, and so did our previous one, or within like a couple grand of that, just, you know, pretty much a rounding difference.
And like what happens, like they give you the multiple, they tell you how much it's gonna sell for, they just add it to the marketplace, I presume.
Yep. And so it goes on their marketplace, goes out to their email list, and then the waiting process begins. And generally with those sort of six-figure, like lower six-figure sites, it's going to take somewhere between 3 to 5 months is what we've found in the past.
Makes sense, yeah.
I mean, obviously, as the size of their brokerage is growing and the size of their buyer list is growing, then those deals are getting done quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
If you're doing like a 50 to 80 grand deal, those things are getting done, you know, really quickly within like a couple of weeks. But
that's,
you know,
really cool.
once you're talking, you know, like 150, 200 grand, a lot of people don't have that just sitting as like cash ready in their bank account to buy something.
Sure.
You know, maybe it's they have to sell some stocks or take out a loan or whatever it is they need to do to get that cash. And so that sort of slows down some of that buying speed as
Actually,
well.
that's like an interesting topic then. Yeah, most people don't have 100 grand lying around their bank account. So what sort of person in your experience buys that type of site?
Yeah, like the first one was there was like an operations person who had then partnered with a few other people that had some cash.
Okay.
And so the person we dealt with was like the operations that guy, or gal in fact, and she was going to be in charge and like, you know, running and maintaining the site.
Just 100 grand sitting there, okay.
Yeah. The second one was a guy who basically took his some of his share portfolio, cashed that in, and then used that to buy the site.
Better ROI actually, probably.
Yeah. I'm not exactly certain where the third guy got his cash from, but
Okay.
I know there was that earn-out component, so some of that cash sort of came from us.
Very true. So what about the sites, if any, that don't get up to 5K? You just
Yep.
keep them as cash flow?
Yeah, so those smaller sites, there's, for us, like once you start adding like a PBN rental charge on top of it as well,
Yep.
if you've got like a $2,000 site and then you're going to start charging, you know, $250 a month for PBN rentals, then, you know, you're not going to get a ton of money out of selling that site.
Yeah.
So we might as well just keep that in the portfolio, keep it for the cash flow, and, you know, use that as like that steady base of income.
I
Because
like that, yeah.
with flipping sites, you have, you know, that bit of lumpiness. So, you know, you're doing some pretty good numbers, and then all of a sudden your monthly revenue drops like 5 to 10K per month because
Yeah.
you've sold that asset. So yeah, those smaller sites just help provide nice, steady base income.
Yeah, I think that's a cool approach because I've been in that position before when my entire business is just whenever I sell something, I get money.
Yeah,
And it's cool because you get loads of money from whenever you sell something, but then when you don't sell anything, you decide to take a break or whatever. Like if all you had was flip sites, you'd make whatever 6 figures, but then you just like, all right, next month you make 0.
yeah,
Right, so it gives you that base income. That makes sense.
yeah.
What else is there involved in the flipping process that is important? I guess the communication with the buyer.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that's one of the fun things of being in Southeast Asia is having to do those buyer-seller calls at sometimes crazy times of the morning or night.
Yeah.
So I've done them at like 6 in the morning and like 10 p.m. at night.
So bad.
I know.
It depends on you.
Yeah.
At 10 p.m. sounds good to me. 6 a.m. sounds horrible.
Yeah, but like, you know, 10 p.m. at night, you're like, okay, well, I'd rather be winding down for bed and not, you know, trying to get hyped up to jump on a call
Yeah.
and try and sell
Sell
this
it,
person
yeah.
on buying this website off of you. But, you know, it's not like those client guys who, if they're selling into America and having to do 10 p.m., 11 p.m.,
2
midnight
a.m.,
calls
man.
every night of the
Yeah.
week. So yeah.
What happens on the call? What do you?
So on the call, we basically would go through like, we'd talk about the site, would answer any questions they have about, you know, how the site was built, or ideas of what they could do to further grow the site, further grow the business.
I guess they ask you why you haven't done that.
Sometimes, and you know, that's, as I said here, like, you know, you're building a portfolio and you've got 40 or 60 sites now, and you're like, yeah, okay, like I just can't dedicate a ton of time to any one particular site. And then, so then they take that information. Sometimes you get an offer on the call. So our second site sale, on that call, we had the offer,
Cool.
which was, you know, super exciting.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, otherwise you then wait for like, you know, 24, 48 hours to hear whether they're interested or not in the site. And
All right, Empire Flip is on that call as well.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's like the buyer, myself, and then a rep from Empire Flippers will be on the call.
Okay, so they're helping you constantly, or both sides really.
Yeah, and they're kind of guiding and directing the call, and you know, they've got their sort of workflow of like, you know, the questions they want to go through and all of that.
Cool, man. Is there anything else involved in the flipping process that we've skipped over?
And there's the last bit, like the site transfer, and
that's a
of
big
course
deal,
getting paid. So yeah, basically Empire Flippers have got a team, they'll do the whole site transfer for you. I choose to do all that myself because I'm a pretty technical guy.
Really? Okay.
And you know, I'd
Do you
much rather,
develop bulk buy and stuff, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Because I'm a much more technical guy, I'd rather just be the guy who gets in there and gets it all done. And you know, because I built the sites and all the rest, like I know the whole
Yeah.
site, and so then I'll do the migration, to the customers or the buyer's web hosting account.
Okay.
And then from there, obviously, we'll transfer the domain across to their registry account. And then it sits with them for like 7 to 14 days for them to like verify that the traffic's still there, verify that they're getting paid the money that, you know,
Okay, you
the
didn't
site
just
says. Yeah. And then from there, you finally get paid. They release the money and,
Awesome.
you know, 48 hours later, there's this nice little addition to your bank account.
That must be a pretty epic feeling, that, especially that first site. Was
Yeah.
it the first site you ever flipped?
Well, I'd flipped like a $3,000 site with them before.
Okay.
So like I knew the process and was comfortable enough when we flipped the first major site with those guys. But yeah, you know, when that money comes in, you're like, okay, cool, like let's throw a party. This is gonna be like, yeah.
Do you actually genuinely like what is your reaction? Are you like I'm more the sort of person that like I'll get that. I was like this is good. Like let's make some more money. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
Like are you like that, or you're like I'm gonna go out now and chill with some friends and take it easy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always building new sites, so there's not that aspect of like, yeah, I'm just gonna go
I'm
chill
done.
with friends. Yeah. It's definitely just like, yeah, let's keep building new sites. But yeah, there's definitely like that, you know, maybe the 5 minutes when you like click in, you're relieved that
grab a
the
drink.
cash is like cleared into your account. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, I bet. I know the feeling of like closing a client and that's nowhere near that size usually, especially when I start out. Like that's like you just feel amazing that it's happened. So that must be like I flipped sites when I started out, but it's like $1,000 sale.
Yeah.
And I was like 16, 17 years old. I was like, this is the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So you're building sites a lot faster, if I think so, than when we first chatted, maybe a year ago?
I think back then we were still
Was it
working
still?
on
Okay.
that. Two per month was the goal.
Okay.
And then it sort of took a dive because Bulk Buy started taking off and I was spending more and more time working in that. And then we've now got like 2 customer support guys on, which has like reduced my workload in that and
That's
allowed
cool.
me to like flip back to working on the affiliate stuff a ton more.
Actually, I want to get into that, but quickly before we do that, I'm curious. My question is, is there any communication that happens after the sale? Do you have to keep in touch with them? Do you have to help them out with anything?
Yeah, I mean, so normally you'll include like 30 to 60 days worth of like email support and sometimes a few Skype calls and stuff. So like with the sale of our second site, that guy was really focused on adding additional content to build out the site more.
Sure.
So for him, we gave him like a keyword pack of like, here's some more keywords you can work on.
Cool.
And then guided him through like, here's the format that we use with our writers, reviewed the first couple like new pages that he added to like, you know, really make him, you know, sure and comfortable that everything was like, you know, he could continue to build and grow that site further.
Okay. And what about the earn-out one? Like I presume they want more communication, or am I
No,
completely wrong? I have no
the
idea.
earn-out ones, you know, there's the monthly email that goes out from Empire Flippers where, you know, they say, here's the earnings, here's your %, and then, you know, everyone just confirms that and it gets paid out.
Awesome.
But in terms of like the other, you know, ongoing communications, there's not really so much of that for that site. It's just purely, you know, transactional stuff to do with the earn-out.
That's cool, man. So here's what I'm curious, because this applies to me also.
Yep.
You have Bulk Buy hosting, you have the other hosting fin now. What's
Yep.
the name again?
Launch CDN.
Launch CDN, okay. And you have like your 60 affiliate sites.
Yep.
How the heck do you do it all? Like you got a lot going on now.
Yeah. So with the affiliate stuff, like my partner Richard does a lot of that business.
I met him before, yeah.
So Richard takes care of keyword research, content orders, managing the VAs that do a lot of the back end stuff for that. And I'm just responsible for like actually building the site, although I've got a VA that does a lot of that for me. And then, you know, just reviewing the work from the VA. So my involvement in the affiliate business is not too much. Like I also obviously do all the technical SEO stuff, so building the PBNs and that. But now I've got Richard also will take care of like target keyword analysis of like, okay, for this group, we need to build this number of this type of link, this number of that, you know, so how many brandeds, how many generics, all of that. So as time's gone on more and more, like he's been taking over a lot more of that, which is great.
That's awesome.
and you know, a super good skill for Richard to be building up as well, to be able to go pretty much like, he does so much of the SEO even for the affiliate stuff now.
That's really cool.
So yeah, that's the affiliate biz. So I think there's 3 writers, a site builder VA, a general VA, and that's that business plus my partner Richard.
Okay.
And then for bulk buy, we've got a support apprentice who's now like full-time support. He came on in January with us. And then
Christian?
That's Christian.
Okay.
Yep. So if anyone's written to our support, they've probably been speaking with Christian for most of the year. And now we've just added Edward, who's our weekend support guy, so that Christian can finally get weekends off. And
you had to work 7 days a week before?
He was doing 7 days a week. Yeah.
Hustle, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're basically just hiring people and partnering. I guess partnership is also very powerful to be able to step back more and more.
Exactly. And so then also, I guess the other part of bulk buy is we've got another developer that I work with as well, who does some of the systems. And then, yeah, like I do or did half the system build for Launch CDN, and you know, he's done a bit of the additional stuff for that.
You developed stuff, right? You coded some of these. You coded different plugins and stuff yourself, right?
Yeah. So all the stuff that I code, I write in PHP.
Okay.
The developer that we've got on for bulk buy and launch, he works in Ruby, and so there's a little bit of like, there's a little bit of difference there between the languages that both of us know. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm curious then, because I can actually code PHP. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Coding is not really my thing. I do design. I quite like design, but I try to avoid it because I don't really think it's the best use of my time. I can paste on, but every so often I would just go on like a spree. And like recently, I just spent like the entire weekend. I didn't leave at all my apartment for like 2 straight days. Just ordered food in and just designed like crazy. You're always coming out with these new plugins and tools. Are you kind of like me, or you just go on like a crazy like coding spree? Or
yeah, that's exactly it. I go on those sprees. So like when I released like Plugin Picker or a few of those other tools, like all I did was like, you know, I'd spend a couple of evenings at home just like, like here's a couple of Jack Daniels or whatever, and just like code it out. But like to get launch ready, that was like a month of me just sitting in cafes around here, like picking the brains of a few PHP guys that I know, and like, you know, really learning a ton more about programming in that language to like get that like down so I could build all the API integrations that we needed for that.
That's really cool. Do you think it's beneficial to you to be able to develop and stuff, being able to code PHP?
I think so, in that it then allows me to build like all these tiny little automations and bits and pieces as well. So like for the affiliate business, I built like an automation that will pull data in from Clicky, pull data in from Amazon account, and use that for reporting. And so you can code all these like little bits and pieces, these little basically robot workers that do some of your work for you. And being able to just, being able to do that in-house, and there's something about that instant response that you get from when you're doing coding work compared to, trying to rank a website, and it takes 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. With this, like you code a new feature, you try it, it either works or it doesn't work.
You get an error code, you
get the error,
fixing it.
and then you get the error and you're just like swearing at the computer, right?
Yep.
It works, and like, so when I was like building all the API stuff for launch, because with my test stuff, I'd done it manually, and obviously that's not going to work at scale, so I need to automate it. And so when I was coding those API integrations, when it worked, it was just like, sitting on the table like, this is the best.
I know that feeling.
And I'd imagine it's the same like when you're doing that design work of like, you throw something together and then you're just like, wow, like this new banner or like brochure or whatever.
It looks like shit. And suddenly, wow, how did that come together?
Yeah.
How do you then, with SEO, like you said, it's like 6 to 9 months or longer. And if you're trying to build up a site to flip it, like it's a 2-year game plan, right?
Yeah.
How do you, I don't know, suck it up for 2 years, waiting for it to get that positive result, versus like with coding, it's just like instantaneous as soon as you get it working?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I try not to look at the stats too frequently. So like, I'll go in and check rankings maybe once a week, once a fortnight, and so long as there's some positive movement in there, then I'm happy. I
Okay.
look at the Amazon numbers like once a month, and again, as long as there's positive movements in those numbers, I'm happy. And because you're working with like 40 or 60 sites, it's a lot easier to just go, yeah, okay, this one's starting to take off, and this one might be our next one to sell. And looking at like from the overall portfolio rather than just worrying about like one site that you're trying to build.
Yeah. And another question that a lot of people ask is, if you're flipping the site for say 30x multiple, why not just keep it for 3 years and just make the money?
Yeah, I mean, for the first one, it was a great injection of capital for us to then continue to build new stuff. And then from there, obviously, the more recent ones have been just to further increase like our investments that we're working on. So we've got like some offline real estate.
Cool.
So, basically taking those digital dollars, converting them into like an actual piece of land with a house on it. And then also some other random investments as well.
Okay, so that's like the super long-term thinking money.
Yeah.
And then this is like, it's not short-term, but it's not as long-term as like that.
Yeah. And the other thing is it then allows you to do crazy stuff like scaling businesses and,
Yeah.
if I want to release something new, I can just go, yep, here's the money to a developer, code this up, release it, see what happens.
Yeah.
Rather than being like bootstrapped month to month and trying to, generate those like $200 of revenue from like a new SaaS product before you can like do anything with it.
Yeah, understandable. Here's an interesting question then. What don't you like about the affiliate business and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, it's the time to rank is like
Okay.
the thing that I hate the most about
Yeah.
affiliate. It's kind of where client in some ways would be a lot more exciting, because if you did a client and you're like, okay, just sign this new client, here's another 2K per month, here's another 5K per month, whatever.
The amount of guys, the affiliate guys that came up to me after the conference is like, that's quite tempting.
Yeah, but then, I understand that like trying to build a client SEO business, you might then be able, might struggle to go, okay, well, here's 20 clients, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Obviously you bring in a team and like try and automate yourself out of that, but is 20 clients enough to be able to sell, or do you need like 50 clients, 100 clients?
Yeah.
Because it's a more traditional services business, and you can't just segment out a small part of it like you can with an affiliate site empire.
Yeah, and most agencies frankly sell on like big earn-out deals, like not really upfront, at least from what I know anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it's like 12 months of revenue is kind of the numbers that I see thrown around. So yeah, give me like a 30 times, or 3.5 years profits on like an affiliate site any day.
Yeah, how come it's so much higher these days? It's not really your place to say. I'm just curious on your opinion. Like you said, the first one was like, it was 20x back then. Now it's 30, it's 10 times more.
Yeah, I guess it's as more and more people sort of see that, hey, your ROI on those sites is really high as an investment class.
Yeah.
Then, you're getting more and more people saying, okay, yeah, well, I think at 20 times it was like a 60% ROI, 60% annual ROI. I think at the higher multiples, it's down to more like 40, 45% ROI. But like, there is no other investment class that you're going to get that sort of
Not at all.
return on your investment. And you've still got that asset there that you could turn around and sell. So like the person who bought our first site, they're past the multiple time now, and they've got that asset which is still earning,
so cool,
10, 11, 12K per month, which they could then turn around and sell now at a 30 times multiple. And so they've earned the money, paid it back, and had growth in the value of that asset for them to then turn around and sell, which,
It's a win-win. You get paid, which allows you to scale up your business to get it where it is today, and they get that.
Yeah. I think the only thing that would have me like keep sites is if we became this huge publishing empire and then started hiring a ton of writers to actually come in and build and manage all these, brands, rather than, offloading them. But that's a completely different game, and
not what we want to do right now.
No.
On that topic, content, where'd you get it from?
So for money content, I've got a writer who's been with me since 2013.
Okay.
He wrote like some of my first AdSense sites back in the day, and then has then just grown on to build these massive like Amazon affiliate sites for us.
Like all the content, 2 a month, and how many pages are these sites?
So anywhere between like 30 to 60K words. I think we've done one that was like 100K words.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he basically has, he has a handful of clients he works with. For us, he'll average it out like 3K words per day. And so, you know, obviously that gets split.
Pretty good.
His time gets split between all of his different clients. And then, yeah, like, you know, we'll send him a content order. He tends to have like some experience in like any niche that we throw it in. Like, so he's a dad that's got like 3 kids. And so if you're sending him like family stuff, he knows family stuff down because he's a stay-at-home dad. If you're sending him like some other stuff, like maybe a home improvement niche, he's like, yeah, like I used to work as a general contractor. So like, yeah, sure, writing about this. He's like, fine. He's done it all.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool for him to like, just be like, yeah, go write about this. He's like, yep, I know it, or I know enough about it. He'll go out and research our products for us on Amazon and just throw the whole site together. And then you just get this nice zip file full of Word files ready to be published.
Yeah, that's an awesome setup. And by the way, for anyone that can hear the bike noises and everything going past, like you live in Chiang Mai, right?
Yeah, and I know like this is the road that we're on. It's like not a major road, but it's, you know, like a more minor road, but you know, important for the area that we're in. So yeah, you get guys riding past on their big bikes occasionally. Yeah. I mean, hopefully these mics are doing a good job of like only hearing us, but
we shall see. Yeah, how come you're living in Chiang Mai then?
So I initially moved out here to live here for a year.
Okay.
And
that's a long time.
Yeah, I was like, well, come out here, bootstrap. You know, like you can live out here for $1,000 a month as like one person, $2,000 a month for like 2 people.
Yeah.
And so like come out here, off some savings, build up this affiliate stuff. And then at the end of that year, I went back to Australia and then tried to like go and hang out with all my friends from back in Australia who were still working 9 to 5s.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, hey, like, let's hang out, let's go grab a beer, let's go grab a meal. And everyone's like, yeah, I can schedule you in like 3 weeks from now on a Thursday. I'm like, no, like I want to actually, you know, just go hang out and have a beer today.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. Plus there's like, I know one guy in Adelaide who's working on similar sort of stuff, who's back in Adelaide. And so you don't have that networking ability that you have out here in Chiang Mai either.
Yeah, 100%.
Like with like Matt Diggity's doing a ton of like, you know, here's your weekly co-working.
Week, right? Yeah.
You can go hang out with those people. Or there's, you know, you slowly build up that network of local, you know, expat friends where you go, yeah, like, hey, let's go hang out and, you know, geek out on Amazon associate stuff or whatever. Geek out on, you know, PBNs.
Yeah,
and, you know,
there's a lot, it's Chiang Mai, there's a lot of cool people here.
Yeah, and so I mean the last 2 months in like the lead up to the conference, like more and more people have been coming in that have, you know, been sticking around for 2 or 3 months and then going from there. So it's like just meals after meals after meals and yeah.
That's cool. We're getting near the end, but another question I'm curious is, how do you build a site to like the 5-10K a month mark? Like I know it's the same sort of process, but is there deliberate, I don't know, thinking in mind or size of a niche or stuff like that to kind of grow it to that size?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that authority site model that people are going on and off of, and you know,
yeah.
So we sort of got on that model at the start of 2014, and you're building out sites that may have like 30, sometimes 50 like money site pages on there.
Yeah.
And so some of those will rank really well, some of them will do okay, and like when you throw on for one site like 50 money site pages, which is probably 100 plus keywords of like keywords you find volume on,
yeah,
there's a ton of traffic that then, yeah.
And it's the testing approach, right? Like you're building 2 a month. You're not expecting every single one to hit 5-10K a month. Is that
correct? Yeah. So there's, you know, some of those that'll just be workhorses of, you know, 500 to 1,000 a month. There are some that might make, you know, 2 or 3, and then there'll be a few that, you know, become standouts and make those, you know, 5 to 10K per month. And as long as you hit one of them a year, then that's kind of our goal. If we hit one of those sites per year, get a nice 6-figure exit on them, plus then the revenue off of everything else that's like growing or like, you know, it's just those stable earners, then combined you make some pretty good money.
Like, it's not just lucky now, 3 years in a row. I don't think it's just like, it just happened to get lucky. Like the process seems to be working, right?
Yeah. And I guess once you're at that point of, you know, 50, 60 sites, you start to get really good at, like Richard was saying the other day, someone was asking like, which keyword metric do you use to like try and work out a keyword, like whether you can rank or not? It's like, I just look at it now and eyeball it, and I know whether I can rank or not.
I say this to people, but it's not the answer they want, because I'll just look at it, like check the metrics and stuff, like yeah, it's easy enough. Like there's no real metric specifically you look at, but you got to give someone more than that when you actually try and teach them.
Yeah. And I'm sure for you, it's like Rosser rank. You just look at it like, what's the Rosser rank score? Is it easy? Is it like medium, or is it difficult? It's coming out
soon. You guys are going into this market. Just look for the Rosser rank. You can code it up for us. That's cool. Anything else that we missed out on flipping that someone needs to know if they want to go out there and build up these sites to flip?
I mean, the only interesting thing that I saw thrown around the other day was someone asking like, hey, could I flip like a Parasite? Which,
interesting.
From what the Empire Flippers guys were saying, you can't, because you know, there's no real asset like there to actually sell. You know, you need that domain and all of that content that is yours to be able to turn around and sell. Like, sure, you might make some good cash off of like ranking a Parasite on Facebook and, you know, driving that traffic to some live streaming offer or whatever, but you're not going to be able to like turn around and flip that.
At least not for much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a Facebook page before. I had like 1 million fans, maybe possibly millions, but we paid like $7,000 for it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to pay much, but that was even risky in itself. That page got deleted after like a month. So we got our money back already, but it's like, there's no control, right?
Yeah, because you're playing on someone else's platform. With like having your own site, your own domain, you know, they can move it to a separate host if they want. They could change the CMS from WordPress to like static if they wanted, or whatever. There's a ton more control over that.
So how come then you don't do something like just set up an email list, even if you don't use it, just to say, hey, like there's an asset there. It's not really an asset if you don't email them, but still.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, maybe you could take an email list and sell it. I've never seen it done, but I guess, you know, it kind of happens in some niches.
Okay.
But yeah, who knows? The more interesting part of that email list would be if that was linked to a website and you're using that email list to drive traffic to the website and sort of overall assets of that business that generate the revenue from the website.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's better.
Yeah.
One more question, maybe two. So last time, that was before the big Amazon commission structure changes.
Yep.
Are you still 100% Amazon?
For affiliate stuff, we're 100% Amazon. Obviously, bulk buy and launch CDN on the side. But yeah, so that was, I think it was about 20 to 25% off of our top line revenue was just, you know, taken out overnight from that announcement. It's standard Chiang Mai, like you'll be hanging out in a pool with someone and there's like a plane will go over and like, you just point to the plane like, yeah, just wait for the plane. But yeah, like, you know, 20, 25% over the, like overnight just was taken out. It's crazy. Rough, but I mean, that's what happens when, you know, you're relying on that one revenue source.
But I guess you don't, because would you rely 100% on that? If like you're at a bigger level than most like guys starting out. So if you're starting out, just rely on it, like you build something up. But today, like at your level now, if you didn't have bulk buy and the launch CDN, get in the hand of it, would you rely 100% on Amazon, or would you try and add extra stuff?
I mean, for me, I really like Amazon in that they've got a ton of really smart CRO experts there. You don't want to piss them off because they pay lots of money.
Yeah.
That they've got like so many CRO guys in there. So, you know, I've seen them move like the buy button 2 pixels this way or 3 pixels that way to try and optimize that.
You must be a really detailed person if you can notice that.
And they've got like so many guys in there, or so many, hundreds of thousands of Americans or millions of Americans, whatever, that have their credit cards just locked and loaded and stored in Amazon. Yeah. And they've got that trust factor of their name and their brand. So like, even if I was to swap from Amazon to say Walmart's affiliate program, there's going to be nowhere near as many people with credit cards stored in there, which, you know, adds an extra hurdle to the buying purchase process. And, you know, Amazon's just like the name for online shopping.
Amazon, no, I'm with you. Like if I go on Amazon, I just buy, done.
Yeah, that's it. Compared to like, I mean, there's probably a much higher affiliate commission off of selling like a ClickBank product, but you know, how well CRO'd is that landing page? How, you know, all those aspects just lead me to go, just all in on Amazon.
Yeah, it's a different model really. ClickBank versus Amazon and stuff like that. That's interesting, and so that's not changing anything with what you guys are doing now.
No, sticking with Amazon,
Just
still building out the same sites. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it sucks we lost 20-25% of top line revenue overnight, but the counter is that like of the product or of the revenue that we generate from Amazon, only 80% of that on average is on niche, 20% of that is off niche.
Okay.
So if we're here and like trying to recommend like seats for interviewing, right?
Is that your niche?
It is now. It's gone, right? 80% of our sales will come from that, and 20% will come from like the rug on the floor that nobody else will be able to see.
Yeah.
And so there's that sort of swings and roundabouts that.
No, so you're making 20% more, well, not necessarily 20% more money, because
yeah, 20% of our revenue comes from like non-niche related products.
That's awesome. Okay, man. Any final thoughts to wrap it up on? You got some wisdom left in you to like wrap the interview up on?
I guess, I mean, for a lot of affiliate guys, they're purely looking at like, let's try and build that MRR number. Let's try and build that monthly recurring revenue, and like, how many sites do I need to like sit in Chiang Mai, like, eat a few coconuts or whatever, and just hang out, right? But I guess what I'd implore people to do is to maybe have a look at like what introducing that flipping component would add and change to their business model. So like for last year, when we flipped, a 6-figure site, that became about, I think roughly, what did it do? It was about 20% of our income for that year was from that site.
Okay.
Which then, if you can then get all these, huge chunks up front, remove a little bit of that.
Scale significantly faster, I presume.
Allows you to scale faster, removes a little bit of that like risk that's always associated with being in any affiliate SEO niche. And like it just changes that whole business model to have that as part of your overall strategy. Because I mean, I was just like, build and hold, build and hold, build and hold. And then when I started looking at, well, no, the real money comes from actually selling these assets, integrate that into the model, and just taking it to crazy levels.
I think that's really good advice, actually. I like that a lot. Where can people find you, man, if you want to connect?
So I've got a blog that I never write on. That's over at kevingraham.com. I've got like 2 articles there. Otherwise, like Twitter is @_KevinGraham, or you can look at my product sites at bulkbuyhosting.com and launchcdn.com.
Awesome. I appreciate you joining me. It's been awesome.
All right, thanks.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, I did.